Hello everyone. This video is for you if your children are your best friends. Now, this is very common nowadays where parents and children want to be their friends. And this is quite new age parenting style where everyone wants to be, chilled out and they want to be friends with their children. But sometimes this is not a very great thing, and we'll discuss why and how. So nowadays, what is happening is that most parents are very busy. So sometimes what happens that one parent, especially, is very busy. Then the other parent is generally taking care of the child or children on their own. Sometimes they are very lonely also. Nowadays, there is little disconnection that we have discussed many times in the previous videos. And because of that disconnection, sometimes they do not have much of social life sometimes because they are very busy. Everyone else is very busy. So what happens is that they actually become very close to their children, and which is also very normal sometimes that we feel that the next available person is your own child whom you can trust, and you are very naturally very close to the child, so you become more friends with them. Now what happens is that in that process we sometimes forget that children are just not developed yet fully, especially mentally. So what happens is that you forget that the children who are still mentally not mature enough, and you start to take them as real friends. This happens very slowly and steadily, but this does happen that you forget the discretion between the real friends and children actually being their friend. Because what your real friends of your age can do for you, like giving you unbiased advice or support, and emotional support especially, and the mature advice, the children cannot do that because they are not yet mentally mature, because their prefrontal cortex is not mature, the brain is not mature. So they cannot be your friends, they cannot give you the kind of support and the understanding that you need as a friend, from your friend. And that's why it kind of backfires sometimes. Now, there is another aspect to this. Sometimes what happens that because when you live alone, or you are very emotionally vulnerable, and your children are around you, and you have made them your friends, so they, out of compassion for you and natural love that they have for you, they start to take on your burden. Now, this is where all the problems start. If your child starts to take on your burden because they feel that, okay, my parent needs me, and with their emotional immaturity and their brain not fully developed, when they start taking your burden, then that burden can actually burden them a lot, and sometimes that can be very very bad for their entire life and their emotional development and their emotional intelligence as well. Now, what happens when a child from the childhood starts to take the parents' burden? They do not understand what is going on, and they then become unknowingly, subconsciously, they become responsible for them. So whenever something happens to the parent emotionally, they feel that they are responsible, which is not the case. See, in any case, if the parent is an adult, the parent is responsible for their own problems and finding the solutions and taking the responsibility. But if your child starts to give you that comfort and the security that you were actually either seeking from your friend or your spouse and that you didn't get, then your child will start to provide you with the very limited understanding and very limited their mental and emotional capacity, and that can be very very overwhelming for them. They can actually experience burnout, and also they will absorb your own emotion as well. So they will also become very very mm, um, sad themselves, and also they feel very very overburdened. Now when this carries on, then this can be very very detrimental for your children and also their own relationships in future. Now, this is also there's a scientific term for this, and it is called parentification, where children start to take responsibility for for their parents' mental and emotional well-being. Actually, if the parent is also physically ill, sometimes they also start to take responsibility that the parents have it. Like suppose the parent is ill, either mentally or physically, then they become the parent to their younger siblings, or they start to take responsibility of their families, their cooking chores and other things that the parent is supposed to do, or even they start to earn also. So this is very common phenomena where if the parent is not very strong, and if the parent is emotionally very weak and vulnerable, then unknowingly they actually make their children actually the parent that they were supposed to be. Now this is extremely detrimental, and we should never ever do that. Now why I have brought out this subject, because this is getting really common and it is not very good for the children at all. You do not want to burden your children with your own burden, because then it actually then results in having the generational trauma. We have already discussed what is generational trauma, and I'll leave the link also. Now these very small things which appears to be really insignificant, but these things actually when it start to show its effect, then the bigger problem starts to seep in. So we have to stop it when the damage is not that apparent, so that we can just control it, and we can take better control of the situation and prevent any further damages. So if you have got any insight, then do let me know. Do you share your problems with your children? Do they just sit and think about all that? Do you just make your children your emotional companion? Do you reach out to your children when you need some emotional, maybe venting or something? It is very common, and you may be surprised that you may be doing it unconsciously. So if you think that you are doing, then this is the call to stop it and introspect. If you need any professional help, then you should go and seek it from a medical professional, from um, known person, from another adult, or your friends, your family members, but not from your children. So that's all for today. Until next time, be mindful and happy parenting.